covered this. Today we have Mr. Schweitzer's class from Stony Brook, and we have Ms. Wilson's 5th grade class from North Hills, and then our class from Round Town. And there were a couple of other classes that wanted to join us, but they weren't able to, so we're going to record for them so that they can, there's Ms. Wilson, so that we can let them see this at another time. Is that okay?
That sounds great.
Okay. So I told my class this morning that we were going to be talking to you, and even though we don't ever see you, we kind of see what you do, and you make our life here at school a lot easier. So we know that you're the big computer guy, and they said, well, wait a minute, that's Mrs. Junkin, right? And I said, yeah, that's for our school, but Mr. Lucia is the computer guy for the whole Central York School District.
That's correct. I assist Mrs. Junkin whenever possible, and that goes for the other building techs. Among other things that I do up here at the Education Service Center on Sherman Street, as opposed to being in a school building.
Okay. Would you mind sharing with us a little bit about what you do, and then we can talk a little bit about coding?
Sure. My primary responsibilities here at the district are to make sure that all the behind-the-scenes things work. The network, the server infrastructure, doing backups. I do some of our state program things like E-rate. What that is, it's the state provides money to us. So I do E-rate. I plan out future enhancements. I work alongside with Mr. Bird to figure out what we should buy, new iPads, new MacBooks, things like that. And then technical support as needed, but mostly just keeping what we call the infrastructure in place and working as best as we can with what we're provided.
Okay. Now, we know that you don't do all coding in your job, but you do a little bit of coding in your job. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
Sure. I guess my first code that I ever wrote was when I first started here. We wanted to create an inventory of all of our computers, and the way that we originally had done it was we had a Microsoft Excel sheet, and we would pass it around, and people would add their computers to the list, and we would continue to pass it. But there was no collaboration in a sense where if someone received an old version of the Excel document, they might overwrite something that someone else had created. So I sat back and I thought, well, it would be great to create a database that everybody could access, and then we could all be typing in and putting our records in at the same time. So I began to develop that using a programming language. And then what that does is all the data that you save on web forms then goes to a database. The database has grown significantly since then, and we still use it today. And aside from that, some of the other things I've created are the cart sign-outs that the teachers use to sign out the mobile carts so that they know what teacher can use what cart what day.
The one that the teacher always gets confused on because she doesn't look at the right day?
That's right.
Okay.
I created that. I created the mileage reimbursement. So as people drive places, they can go online, fill in their reimbursement, and then submit that to their supervisor. The grad course database, where as teachers do their grad courses, they can put them into our database, and we keep a tally. And these are some of the programs I wrote way back when I was first learning. So visually, they're not that appealing, and functionality-wise, they could probably be better. But someday, maybe I'll look at them again and upgrade them. Homecoming voting that we do for the students at the high school, where the students then, they go online and they vote for who they want to be homecoming king and queen and various courts. Let's see here. I programmed the holiday drive where we sign up for gifts to be purchased for families. Um, Recently, I programmed an online parent-teacher conference registration, which has actually been very helpful.
Yes.
And hopefully next year we're going to expand that to be K through 6 or K through 12 possibly, and then everybody could do that. And the beauty of that is parents could then go online, sign up for the time that they would like to see their teacher, and keep some of the paperwork out of it. And then I think there could be a couple others. I can't think of them off the top of my head, but generally what I like to do is find problems or things that I see, challenges where there's a lot of redundant work being done, and then I ask myself, could we write a program to make that easier? And that's pretty much my programming in a sense for the district. In a nutshell.
Okay. So what you're saying is you're writing programs to help the people and the kids that work here and the parents. You're making it to make their life easier.
If I can do it, I will. Exactly. And it's, whether I save a little time or no time, it's hard to say, but I think some of the things we've done has made teachers and students' lives easier, and I'm happy for it.
Yep. So here's here's one that directly affects us and Mr. Schweitzer and Ms. Wilson's class, because you all have devices that you get sometimes, right? You can sign out the computers or the iPads, and you get to use them at certain times. So instead of Mr. Schweitzer going and asking every single teacher in the school if he could use the iPads on Tuesday afternoon, all he does is click on the website and he can see that, and then he can sign up for them if they're available. So that saves a lot of time. Yes, because all we would do is run around all day and say, "Are you using the computers? Can I use the computers? Can we?" So that in and of itself saves a lot of time, and that's what he was talking about, those things that help us save time. Do you understand that? Okay. Okay. Does anybody from Mr. Schweitzer or Ms. Wilson's class have a question yet?
No.
Okay. So, Mr. Lucia, I do understand that you also like to program a little bit when you're not at work.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk to us about that a little bit?
Sure. Some of the things that I've done programming-wise is not just computer programming in a sense, but web design and web programming. Throughout the last few years, I've made a few websites for either friends or for example, my dentist needed a website, and I told him that I would help him create something. So even today, just as some side projects, I've made websites and coded websites and done some databases for those people. I've never really built anything for myself, only because I haven't really needed to, and especially now with today's Web 2.0 websites like Google Docs, Google Apps. There's a lot of things now that's out there that's free, and I might not need to code something because it's already been done. But so I have done some client work, I guess you could say, for other friends and family, and even just businesses that I associate with. And I do that outside of the district, and in my grad courses, as I was continuing my education, we built a couple websites that I thought were really fantastic, and they were for a project, not so much for us, but it was a great learning experience for me because I got to try some new language skills.
Okay, so you just said new language skills. So what kind of language do you use when you code? Because we talked a lot about it being like learning a language.
Yep. Basically, my skill set right now is primarily in PHP, which is an object-oriented language. There are a few like that, like C++ and C Sharp. And if you're developing an application for, say, a Macintosh computer, you would program in Cocoa. Now, a lot of times, if you know the functionality and fundamentals of one language, it helps you to learn others.
Uh-huh.
But for me, primarily, I program in PHP with a little bit of JavaScript. And most of those are considered web languages.
Okay. So even within coding, there's different languages.
Absolutely. There's a lot. There's Java. There's ASP. ASP language is mostly created for Windows and Windows applications. Perl and Python. Those languages are more server side, where you write a Perl or Python program to make the actual physical computer do something you want it to do, not so much in a web presence.
Okay.
I know a little bit of those, but not a lot.
So that last one you said would be more like robotics?
It's more about telling you, say you have a server and you want it to do something every day, or you want it to do something special within itself. So it's actually more computer manipulation than it is, say, robotic. But I would imagine that there's probably a lot of robotic automation programming that is in Perl language, because it's so structured and it's very old language.
Okay. Now, we had a couple of questions for you. You had mentioned taking or coding in graduate classes, and for us, at least in case you're not sure what graduate classes are, if you decide to finish high school and then go to college and you get a degree, and then you're like, I think I want to go to college some more. And you can go to college some more and get another degree. That's called a master's degree. So it's college after college. Okay, so he had coding then. It could be at the same college, or it might be at a different college. Okay? No, not double duty. It's extra, but it might be for something more specialized, or a little bit more in depth for what you want to know. So did you do coding outside of that as well? Because we were wondering when you started to code, and if it was learn yourself, or did you learn from somebody else, or how that worked?
When I first, my first introduction to coding was back when I originally went to undergrad school, which is exactly right after high school. I started college, and when I was taking some intro computer courses, we had a course in what was known as Java. And Java is sort of another web program language, and it does a lot of things. It's built into most things that are done today. Even Skype probably uses Java to function. And when I first started to learn that language, I found that I sort of had I took to it really well. I learned it, and when I was at that point in college where I needed to decide which direction I wanted to focus on, whether it be programming or computer technology administration, my professor asked me, she said, I would like you to go in the programming direction, but I had heard some things about the other program that seemed more appealing at the time, and I just wasn't sure that I wanted to program for a living. So I decided to go the other route, and I got my degree in that. But it wasn't until I started working here at Central that I wanted to learn to create that inventory for the computers. So basically, even the Java skills that I had didn't really prepare me for PHP, because it's such a different web language. And so what I did was I just started by using online tutorials. I bought a book on understanding the concepts of variables and things like that with PHP. And over the years, I've progressed as a self-learner, self-taught, to create more robust applications and to do more things. And as you do it more, you will get better at it. So when I look back at programs that I wrote back in 2003 and I compare them to ones I wrote today, it's drastically different because I did so many things wrong then. But that's the beauty of learning to code and just practice. You will continue to get better at it, and you'll learn new techniques, and even the language itself will evolve over the years so that you can do more with it. But I am considered a self-taught, basically just by trial and error and doing it. And I feel for me that's the best way for me to learn.
You know, we heard that we had a couple of other expert voices this week, and we heard the same thing, that they didn't necessarily go to school for programming, but through playing around and learning and sticking with it, they were able to learn the languages as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we also heard that a lot of, like you, and then we had a couple of gentlemen from WellSpan yesterday, they didn't start coding either until they were like out of school. So being that you're in elementary school and you're starting to code, holy smokes.
Wow.
You're doing well, right?
You guys are way ahead of the game. That's fantastic.
Now, we had a couple of very specific questions for you.
Sure.
One of the students was really interested in knowing whether or not you have ever programmed anything for like a Lego engine or done anything like that.
I haven't. I have read about programming for that type of thing, but being that a lot of the stuff that I do is strictly web-based, I haven't really ever programmed anything that would be so specific as to robotic or Lego or things like that. So I've never done it. I wouldn't mind looking into it and just seeing what it would entail, but not having a ton of free time, it might not be one of those things that I ever get to achieve.
Yep. Okay. So you're coding mostly to make life easier, either at work or through colleagues or other friends. Okay.
Correct, and with a focus on web technology and using browsers.
Yep. Now, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Lucia from our room? How about from your classrooms?
We have a couple of questions.
Okay.
What kind of education skills do you need to do your job?
Could you repeat that?
She was asking about education. What kind of education did you need to do your job?
Well, I have a bachelor's degree in information technology, and that's the degree I had when I began working for Central York School District back in 2003. And then since then, I had decided to continue that education, at which time I also, through online, through the Penn State World Campus, I went and received my master's degree in information technology, along with a post-baccalaureate certificate in information technology security.
We have one more. Is there anybody who influenced your choice to work with technology?
Can you repeat that one too?
Sure. She was asking about if there was anyone that has influenced your choice to work in technology.
I have a cousin who is a few years older than me. He is actually a programmer, and he got into computers a little bit before I did. Originally, even out of high school, I wasn't terribly interested in doing computers. I wanted to be a business administration major, but as I took those classes, I realized it really wasn't for me, and then I was able to start taking some computer classes. This is back in 1997, so there weren't the same number of computer classes available as there are today, but even just getting an introduction to it, I realized that it's something that I seem to embrace really well. So I would say possibly my cousin, and then my first job that I had before I came here was with a robotics automation firm where I was learning from my mentor on networks and technology, and I would say that he mentored me greatly, and I to this day I owe him a lot because just the way he took me in and taught me things, even being a young man, I think that was great, and it helped me greatly.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else from the other classes have a question? Mr. Schweitzer's class?
Can I have a question?
No.
Good, Shane, loud and clear. Back here. Go ahead. Oh, you lost it?
That's okay, buddy.
It happens.
If anybody has any questions that you can't think of right now or don't feel comfortable asking, if you go ahead and give them to your teachers and they email them to me, I will be happy to answer them.
Okay. And do you have any advice for us as far as art coding goes?
I would say if it's something that if you find interesting, I think you should stick with it. I know for me, I know myself, have trouble sitting still at times and focus especially. But when I do computer programming, I can just sit there and program, and I can sit still. It's truly amazing the difference in my personality as to being fidgety and always moving around. But when I sit in front of the computer and write code, I mellow out, I focus, and it's very calming for me. So if it's something that you really find interesting, I would say embrace it now, and I think it'll guide your future, and it'll be wonderful for you.
Okay. Mr. Lucia, thank you so much for taking time out of your day.
It's no problem. It's my pleasure.
Why don't we now listen, guys, we're not going to run up to the camera, but we're going to give him a hand, and we'll pan for you, okay? Thank you.
Thanks so much, and enjoy your hours.